1,000-year rain flood in South Carolina, and it's not over yet. We have crews live this morning bringing you the latest from the ground level. Plus, evacuations are in order if you live near the Saluda and Congaree rivers. We have the details, and search and rescue efforts are underway as authorities fear people could be trapped in their homes. Good Morning Columbia starts right now.
From ABC Columbia News, live from Main and Gervais, this is Good Morning Columbia.
Good morning, Columbia. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning. I'm Christy Vaughn.
And I'm Rochelle Dean. We are live from Main and Gervais, and your time right now is 6 a.m.
And we are waking up to historic flooding, the aftermath from yesterday. This morning, we have 5 confirmed deaths. Countless homes underwater. Displaced families, though, counting their blessings.
That's right. Officials are continuing to advise you to stay safe. And by doing that, you can stay off of the roads if at all possible. We're going to turn things over to meteorologist Jonathan Kennedy, who's been tracking this weather for the last several days, so he can tell us what we can expect for the remainder of the day. Good morning, Jonathan.
And good morning, Rochelle, and good morning, Christy. And good morning to all of you joining us out there. I know y'all are waking up to unimaginable situation for a lot of people out there. So right now, current conditions, 60 degrees downtown, cloudy skies, and rain is continuing to fall for us this morning. We saw a little bit of a lull in the action, which is obviously a welcome sight, but rain pushing back into the area, and that is expected to persist for much of the day today. Winds not particularly breezy, with the sustained winds variable at 7 miles per hour, but the gusts are upwards of 20 to 25 at times. So it is breezy out there with those gusts picking up, and that could cause some issues with some downed trees and eventually power lines, because the soil is so saturated with all the rain we've seen. It's going to make it a little bit easier to push those trees around. Temperatures in the upper 50s and low 60s right now for a cooler day. Most everybody at least around 5 to 10 degrees cooler this morning. Cooler and drier air is good to see, because that's going to kind of undercut some of this rain and take out some of the forcing that has been providing it. Now, we're still somewhat seeing that kind of fire hose effect from the Atlantic Ocean, and that moisture is still coming our way. We did see it kind of oscillate just a little bit to our south, but now it's kind of trudging back to the north here and coming in from the east still. So I look for some pretty heavy rain. This one little pocket of rain here right there between us and Camden right now. If you're going up US 1 or in that area, we'll expect some heavy rain on kind of the northeast side of Richland County. Obviously, that's one of the hardest areas hit already. Flood warning in effect until 10:30. Flood watch until noon. Wind advisory until 5 o'clock. So we've seen probably the worst of it, but a lot of impact still to come, Christy and Rochelle.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you for keeping us up to date. And of course, this is historic flooding here in South Carolina. Most counties across the Midlands were under a curfew. Officials say anyone not facing an emergency situation needs to stay off the roads this morning. So far, there have been 5 confirmed deaths. 3 of those deaths are weather-related, say officials.
That's right. And as meteorologist Jonathan Kennedy just mentioned, that rain has slowed, but there is still a concern over the integrity of a lot of those roads. Our Jennifer Reddy is live right in front of Copeland's. That's in the Gills Creek area, where that water at one point at the height of the storm had reached 10 feet. Jennifer, you are live out there. What are you seeing at this hour?
Good morning, guys. I'm here at Gills Creek, where the road and the bridge is still closed here. Yesterday, the bridge was entirely flooded. That has since receded, but there's still signs of the aftermath. There are still cars that are stranded, parking lots that are completely underwater, and in front of me, there is traffic lights that are out. That is a scene that could be seen across the Midlands. SCE&G is reporting thousands of power outages across the state. Now, the South Carolina Department of Transportation, as of this morning, says there are more than 350 road closures as well as 140 bridges. Governor Nikki Haley in a press conference yesterday said this is an all-hands-on-deck situation. There is more than 600 National Guard helping out with rescue efforts to make sure people are staying safe and helping people who cannot get out of bad situations. Now, that curfew is expected to be lifted, or it is lifted, I guess, at this point. People can be out on the roads, but they are urging people, if you do not need to be out on the roads, don't be. This weekend, there has been 5 weather-related deaths. That shows how serious this can be. Don't get yourself in a situation. Officials say don't risk your life or the lives of others. And also out of Lexington this morning, Lexington authorities say that there are not many ways out of Lexington this morning. A lot of the main thoroughfares are closed, but if you need to get to Columbia, if you have to get there, you can take North Lake Drive or South Lake Drive. But again, they are recommending stay put, stay in your house. There is no need to go out and risk your life or the lives of others. From Gales Creek, Jennifer Reddy, ABC Columbia News.
All right, thank you so much, Jennifer. A spokesperson for the South Carolina Emergency Management Division says federal officials are discussing evacuating area hospitals this morning due to the lack of clean water. But at this hour, no hospitals have evacuated patients.
That's right. But, you know, take a look at this video. They were already preparing for the worst and hoping for the best. Palmetto Health Baptist here yesterday, this morning, actually, fire trucks pumping water into those hospitals to avoid some of those evacuations. A spokesperson for the hospitals saying staff is still trying to decide what to do in order to give their patients the best care and are continuing to respond to hundreds of rescues, accidents, as well as calls for assistance this morning. And as you just mentioned, that 12-hour curfew was in the city of Columbia, the town of Lexington, and was also in Williamsburg counties. It ended at this hour. So we are expecting to see, you know, what this rain will bring, whether we'll have more curfews in effect or if there will be some more flooding as a result of the rain we're expecting to get.
That's right. And if you live in Sumter County, a curfew there won't expire until 7 a.m. this morning. And again, officials are urging anyone not facing an emergency situation needs to stay off the roads for at least another hour in that county. And of course, across most of the Midlands area, because safety is the top concern, and they're trying to get first responders to these areas where we are still experiencing some flooding and perhaps victims who need rescuing. And of course, due to this, our state schools have made the decision to close. School districts across the Midlands all closed this morning because of the flooding and because of those safety concerns.
That's right. Here are just a few of them. All classes at USC have been canceled today. South Carolina State University's campus also closed. All Newberry County schools and offices have been closed. Lexington District 1 through 4 have canceled school for today. And we've also learned that all schools in Lexington, Richland 5 have been closed. Richland School District 1 and 2 are closed. Kershaw County schools also closed. Fairfield County schools, as well as Sumter County schools, are closed for today into tomorrow. Orangeburg County Consolidated School District 5 schools are also closed today and tomorrow. And these are just some of the school closings that we've received into our newsroom. Of course, we'll continue to update that. But if you'd like a complete list, you can go to our website, abccolumbia.com. And many people also dealing with the problem of power. A lot of people waking up in the dark this morning across the Midlands. According to the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, there are currently 21,150 power outages, and that's statewide.
And SCE&G is reporting over 4,000 Lexington County customers were without power. That was at the 2:30 a.m. update this morning. And of course, we have other utilities, Mid-Carolina, so we are working to get some numbers on that.
That's right. And Lexington County authorities also encouraging residents within a quarter-mile of the banks of the Saluda and the Congaree rivers to evacuate this morning.
Due to concerns about the impact of SCE&G releasing more water from the Lake Murray Dam, they say this is very precautionary, but they have set up emergency shelters throughout the Midlands. Here's a list of those. In Richland County, AC Flora High School and Dreher High School are now at capacity. However, other options include Lower Richland High School, St. Andrews Middle School. In Kershaw County, Camden High School. In Orangeburg, Bethune-Bowman K-12 school.
That's right. And in Sumter High School is offering shelter. Also, Scotts Branch High School in Clarendon County and the Lexington Leisure Center and Seven Oaks Complex in Lexington also offering some shelter for anyone who may need it.
Yeah, so seek shelter if you need it. And of course, if you're in an emergency situation, officials say dial 911 because they are operational and they are there and ready for your call. Well, still to come here on Good Morning Columbia, we're going to continue to keep you updated on the latest flooding, evacuation, and shelters in the area.
That's right, and what the effects of this historic storm may mean for you locally.
And right now we're continuing to see rainfall this morning. It is breezy as well. Temperatures in the low 60s. Expect more rain and breezy conditions throughout the day today. More details of the forecast next. Stay with us. We're live from Main and Gervais. Time is now 6:12 on your Monday morning. We did see a lull in the action with the rainfall, but the rain continuing to fall for us this morning and starting to pick up in intensity as well. Now, it'll be a breezy and rainy day, especially to start. We do have many watches and warnings still in effect for the flooding, wind advisory in effect as well. Look for highs in the mid-60s today. We'll probably only be around 60, even upper 50s by later this afternoon. And finally, some drier air comes our way. Should be drying out by later on tonight with lows in the mid to upper 50s.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. Images are coming into our newsroom this morning from across the state. This is video coming out of Berkeley County. A mother in UG holds her infant daughter as a Coast Guard crew hoists them from the flooded home. And we're seeing images like this across the state and even right here in the Midlands as first responders do their job to rescue stranded residents. Yeah. And take a look at this. Widespread flooding has caused some coffins to rise from the ground at cemeteries across the state. Alvin Staley took video of two coffins protruding from the ground at the Samaria Baptist Church. Now, that is not here, it's in Springfield. There were also reports of a similar incident in Ridgefield.
And we are going to take a short break, but when we come back, we have continuing coverage of this historic rain event.
We're also going to take a look at what's making news across the country. Stay with us. We are live from Main and Gervais. Well, welcome back here to Good Morning Columbia. This morning we are continuing to follow developing news about the flooding. This morning we have learned that a South Carolina Department of Transportation worker, employee Timothy Wayne Gibson, died yesterday in the floodwaters off Garners Ferry Road in Columbia while overseeing work, according to officials.
That's right. We are hearing he was a 45-year-old man, and our condolences are going out to all of his loved ones who may be watching this morning. Reports that he was actually trying to save others when he was overtaken by the floodwaters.
Yeah, and it's stories like this that we continue to hear and see. Neighbors coming together, communities helping each other out, Good Samaritans stopping to try and rescue people in floodwaters, and of course this gentleman, a hero, a DOT worker that was trying to help folks there in the Garners Ferry Road area. And of course, it's so heartbreaking for the community here because we all live here and we work here, and it's just really sad.
It is. I mean, these are our neighbors, these are our friends, these are, people that we come into contact with on a daily basis, and to see some of the devastation and destruction we already discussed this morning. This is not something that's going to be fixed overnight.
No, and we're here this morning to try and bring you updates on road conditions, on shelters, but there is other news to bring you around the country today. Philadelphia area colleges are warning students to be extra cautious today after a threat of violence was directed at local campuses.
That's right. FBI, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives officials sent out a warning yesterday on social media following last week's deadly shooting at the Umpqua Community College in Oregon. Now, authorities say the threat did not mention a specific school, but did mention a specific time. It's enough to make some of the students at Drexel University very nervous.
Just because all the recent things that have been going on, it's just scary to think it's going to possibly happen on our campus. Yeah. So I'm scared to actually leave my dorm tomorrow.
Authorities say they put out the warning out of an abundance of caution. Schools are encouraging students to report anything they see that is suspicious.
The father of one of the victims in the Oregon College shooting led a church service over the weekend.
That's right. Pastor Randy Scroggins' daughter, Lacey, is one of the 9 people wounded in Thursday's massacre. He said Lacey is still alive thanks to another victim, Traven Anspa, who gave his life to save hers. Scroggins also says Lacey can still hear the sound of Anspa's body falling to the ground after being shot. Police say the shooter, Chris Harper Mercer, killed himself during a shootout with officers. 9 people were killed in his shooting spree. His father later said the massacre wouldn't have happened if his son hadn't had access to guns. And there is an update at this hour on the cargo ship that we were talking about yesterday that went missing during Hurricane Joaquin in the Bahamas. A large debris field has now been located.
El Faro went missing Thursday when it sailed into the hurricane during a routine trip from Florida to Puerto Rico. The U.S. Coast Guard reporting a 225 square mile area of the ocean littered with styrofoam, wood, cargo, and other items. Earlier, divers recovered a life ring bearing the name of the vessel about 70 miles northeast of the ship's last known location. The El Faro was carrying a crew of 28 Americans and 5 Polish nationals. Well, back here at home, we have much more to come here on Good Morning Columbia as we continue to track this historic rain event.
That's right. Stay with us. We're live from Maine and Gervais.
Just about 6:25 on your Monday morning. Rain continuing to fall for us here in Columbia. And you can see this, the influx of moisture continuing to come in from the Atlantic Ocean. Low pressure off the coast, that's going to kind of funnel this system back our way and push it back to the north. It had kind of slid a little bit to the south, and we were seeing some relief from that. But more rain in the forecast for your day today. But it looks like the rain will end at some point later today into tonight. After that, lots of sunshine. Look for mid-70s and even some low 80s with all that sunshine later this week.
All right, thank you, Jonathan. This morning, the City of Columbia Police, fire departments, the Richland County Sheriff's Department, and the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division will begin concentrated search and rescue operations happening any minute.
That's right. First responders from each agency will continue life-saving efforts for City of Columbia and Richland County residents who still need to be evacuated this morning. The operation will also include overall welfare checks and stability assessments of buildings, homes, and other structures after this major flood event.
Crews, we are being told, will mark the front door of the home with a bright fluorescent orange X once a residence or a building has been checked. Now, after the rescue, citizens will be taken out of the flood zone in military vehicles and then driven by bus to a designated safe zone or shelter in our area.
Now, they are saying that this is a voluntary evacuation, but authorities warn not to leave a location that can create a dangerous situation for citizens and first responders. It has been advised that citizens should only take the essential items they need with them during this rescue effort, which means like your prescriptions or something that you can bring in a small travel overnight bag.
Right. Now, I know a lot of people have questions about their pets. Only pets in cages can be transported with a resident. And of course, citizens who need to be rescued, you need to call 911. Aside from an address, emergency officials tell us you need to provide dispatchers with a description of the home, including where you can be found inside the home. And a tough morning for search and rescue crews. They're going to have a lot of work ahead of them, especially in the hardest hit areas where our Jennifer Reddy has been since early yesterday morning in the Gills Creek Parkway area.
Yeah, just hoping that the search and rescue goes smoothly and that they are able to get to as many people as possible if they are still in their homes. And as we mentioned during the first hour, if you know of someone who is stuck in a home, then report that to 911 so that they can get out there to that home as well. They may not, their landlines may not be working, their cell phones may be dead at this point.
Right.
There may be damage where they don't have any electricity. So if you can, get that information out, that's also going to help those emergency crews out there.
Absolutely.
Well, coming up next, we are going to take another live look with ABC Columbia's Jennifer Reddy, who has been out on the scene near Copeland's monitoring road conditions out there.
She's going to have the very latest on what's happening on the roadways.
And right now, the current weather situation not helping us at all. It is cloudy, it is cool, and it is also raining, as well as breezy. We're seeing the winds pick up upwards of 10 miles per hour. Light rain to steady rain continuing to fall for us, and that'll likely continue through much of the day. More details of the forecast next. Stay with us. We're live from Maine and Gervais.
From ABC Columbia News, live from Maine and Gervais, this is Good Morning Columbia.
Well, good morning, Columbia, and thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning. I'm Christy Vaughn.
And I'm Rochelle Dean. We are live from Maine and Gervais, and your time right now is 6:33.
Historic flooding in South Carolina. We are learning that there are at least 5 confirmed deaths this morning, countless homes underwater, and displaced families counting their blessings.
That's right. Officials are continuing to advise you to stay as safe as possible. And to do that, they're asking you to stay off the roads. Let's turn things over to meteorologist Jonathan Kennedy, who's been tracking this weather to see what we can expect for the remainder of the day. Hey, Jonathan, good morning.
Good morning, Rochelle. Good morning, Christy. And good morning to all of you joining us out there. Hopefully you're able to watch us. So there's still thousands of people without power across the area. Most people without water, especially here in the Columbia area. So a lot of impact still being felt, and we're continuing to see this situation develop over time. We are not out of the woods just yet. We are still seeing rain continuing to fall for us here in downtown, and becoming more and more steady as we move through these early morning hours as that kind of arm of moisture continues from the Atlantic. 60 degrees downtown. It is cloudy, it is rainy, it is breezy. So again, emergency officials are urging you to stay home. It is not the best morning to be out and about either way. So it is still dark. It's going to be hard to see where those trouble spots are. So if you absolutely have to head out for something today, please wait until later when it's daylight, and hopefully maybe the rain will slow down for us as well. Temperatures in the upper 50s and low 60s. We're pretty much going to be here all day with these temperatures. Not expecting a lot of warm up with a consistent cloud cover and more rain coming our way. Most everybody 5 to 10 degrees cooler this morning. Obviously temperatures, not a huge impact on what you're going to be worried about today, but obviously that is going to play a part in some of those things that people are going to be doing out and about around the area. Satellite and radar for us, obviously more rain coming our way and becoming a lot more vigorous here in the last hour or two. We're seeing some heavy rain, especially towards the Kingstree area, off to the east, areas that have already seen just historic flooding, as have we. We're looking at heavy rain here as locally, but just smaller pockets, but more heavy rain likely, maybe another 1 to 2 inches of rain on top of the 18 to 20 inches that we've already seen. Now, we do have a flood warning in effect for the surrounding counties until 10:30. Flood watch for the entire state until noon today, and then the tan color you see there with the colors, obviously there's a lot going on, but the tan color, that's a wind advisory that's in effect until 5 o'clock. So not only do we have more rain, we also have more wind coming our way as well, and that could pose a lot of issues with additional flooding and power outages.
All right, thank you, John, and I appreciate you keeping us up to date. And the last thing people want to hear is more rain.
Exactly.
Of course, due to the historic flooding in South Carolina, most counties across the Midlands were under a curfew. Officials are asking that anyone not facing an emergency situation this morning stay off the roads. So far, there have been at least 6 confirmed deaths, 3 of those weather-related.
That's right. Our Jennifer Reddy is live in the Gills Creek area. And as you just heard Jonathan mention, we are expecting more rain. She's actually, since she's been out there this morning at 5 a.m., starting to see that rain increase. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about what you're seeing at this hour.
Good morning, Christy and Rochelle. In the last hour or so, the rain has definitely intensified out here and the wind has really picked up. But as Jonathan mentioned, the rain should taper off in the next 24 hours or so, but that doesn't mean the danger is over. Here at Gills Creek, the road and the bridge is still closed. We've seen a few cars since the curfew's been lifted try to go over the bridge, and authorities are taking this very seriously. If you try to go through road closures, they will pull you over and not allow you to go through. It's a very serious situation they're talking about. Officials are urging you to stay off the roads if you can. Stay home. Several school districts and counties are closing offices today to make sure that people are taking this seriously and staying off the roads. Governor Nikki Haley says this is an all-hands-on-deck situation. Over the weekend, there's been 5 weather-related fatalities. The National Guard has been out there's been more than 600 National Guard out making rescues and making sure roads are safe for people to go through, and urging you not to go through water if you see it. Again, stay safe. Don't go out on the roads if you don't need to. Officials want you to be taking this seriously. Now, as of this morning, the South Carolina Department of Transportation says there's over 350 roads being closed across the state. There's also 140 bridges closed. We will keep you updated throughout the day on ABC Columbia and on our website, abccolumbia.com. Live from Gills Creek, Jennifer Reddy, back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Of course, Jennifer's been out on the scene all morning, and it looks like, as she mentioned, we've got the emergency vehicles now pulling up in that area. Well, we continue our coverage this morning. Spokesperson for the South Carolina Emergency Management Division says federal officials are discussing evacuating area hospitals due to the lack of clean water, but at this hour, no hospitals have evacuated patients.
That's right. You can take a look at this video from the Palmetto Health Baptist. Fire trucks pumping water into the hospital this morning to try to avoid those evacuations. A spokesperson for the hospital is saying that staff is still trying to decide what to do to give their patients the best care and are continuing to respond to hundreds of rescues, accident, as well as calls for assistance. And as Christy just mentioned, that 12-hour curfew was in the city of Columbia as well as the town of Lexington and Williamsburg counties. It's all ending this hour. That doesn't mean to run out and get on the roads. Of course, we are still asking people to stay off the roads, but it wasn't in place until the end of this hour, and it will last until about 6 this morning. Now, if you live in Sumter County, a curfew there won't expire until 7 o'clock this morning. Anyone not facing an emergency situation is being asked to stay off the roads for at least another hour. And of course, we know that around that 7 o'clock hour, the sun will come up. They'll have a little bit better visibility. If you have to, if it's an emergency, that's the time that they're asking you to go out on the roads. Unfortunately, we have heard that a lot of the local jurisdictions here asking people to stay off those roads and saying if you are not supposed to be on those roads and they find you, they will ask you to go back home or they will take you to the police department until those roads clear up.
Yeah, and we're continuing to follow all sorts of situations this morning, trying to get you the information you need. Of course, one of the things Rochelle just mentioned was the hospitals are on standby. The fire trucks are pumping water in because currently, if you don't already know, the city of Columbia, all residents in the city of Columbia are under a boil water advisory until further notice, and most of the immediate downtown area in the city without water this morning. They are urging you to boil your water for at least 1 minute before cooking or drinking. Don't brush your teeth in this water. They do say that it's okay to bathe, but they are asking you to boil your water. Best case scenario, if you can get out later day and get out safely, get bottled water.
Yeah, that would be the best. And just getting information here too from the city of West Columbia on their Twitter feed. They are also under a water boil advisory. So anybody living in the West Columbia area also asked to boil their water for 1 full minute before using it to cook or to drink. And we'll have the latest on some of this flooding that is continuing to go on in the area.
Yeah, stay with us.
And right now, light rain to steady rain continuing to fall for us, becoming heavier at the moment. Temperatures are in the low 60s. Expect a rainy and breezy day, especially for the first half of your Monday. I'll have more forecast details next. We're live from Manager Bay. Just about 6:43 or so on your Monday morning, and we are seeing heavy rain in downtown Columbia, and that'll likely be the case for much of the morning. Expecting heavy rain, at least a light to steady rain consistently over the next few hours, probably up until this afternoon. 65 for the high today, but I think we're probably going to be closer to around 60 degrees. That rain-cooled air has us right at 60 this morning, and look for a very breezy day as well. So not the best day to be out and about, just weather-wise, and just despite all the other issues that are going around town. As we mentioned several times, officials are urging people to stay home. I've already seen some cars out and about, but if you can stay home, do so, especially while it's dark outside. It is near impossible to see where the trouble spots are going to be when it's still as dark as it is.
Yeah, really good advice. And of course, we've been talking about the effects of this storm, historic flooding, unprecedented. I mean, we could go on and on. It's just heartbreaking. But one of the things to keep in mind is that you and other teams have been tracking this storm and Hurricane Joaquin, and this not necessarily related to Joaquin.
Exactly. And we were starting to get some of the images from Joaquin. Obviously, this is a kind of a different scope of this system. Obviously, we've been focused on the other end, but Hurricane Joaquin, it did pummel the Bahamas. This is video from the Coast Guard aircraft from the Bahamas where the hurricane hit on Thursday. The footage shows flooding in a wide area with many homes underwater. Joaquin tore through the Bahamas as a Category 4 storm with winds at 140 miles per hour at times, with gusts upwards of 165 miles per hour. So tons of devastation there, kind of just sat over the Bahamas. Thankfully did not make a U.S. landfall, but unfortunately for us here in South Carolina, it didn't really matter. We were seeing hurricane and then some impacts for much of the state.
Yeah.
So hopefully with this drier air coming in, we can finally start to recover from this system. But as of right now, still more rain on the way.
Still more rain on the way, so be safe out there on the roads. And coming up next, we've got continued live coverage, shelters, water advisories, and road closings. Stay with us live from Maine and Gervais.
Welcome back to Good Morning Columbia. Your time right now, 6:47. Officials with the city of Columbia say many residents are without water this morning because of a water main break. The greater downtown Columbia and southeast Richland County areas are the most affected. But as a precaution, the city of Casey has also issued a boil water advisory. Customers should be prepared to be without water for 3 to 4 days. The city will have an update at noon today. Earlier, the city issued a boil water advisory for all of its 375,000 customers. All water should be boiled for 2 minutes, and that residents should allow to throw away any ice that was not boiled prior to being frozen. And due to the boil water advisories across the Midlands, the president of the University of South Carolina, Harris Pastides, reported on his Twitter feed last night the lack of water on campus creating a critical situation in dorms as well. Also, USC is consulting with experts and will communicate to students what is being done to fix the issue sometime later this morning. Well, coming up, Kansas City couple pulls off a wedding day in Charleston with the help of a TV station and some locals. We'll have that story coming up next.
And right now here at home, more rain coming our way. We're looking at heavy rain right now in the downtown area and across much of the Midlands. We do have some flood warnings and watches still in effect. More details coming up in the forecast in a few minutes. Stay with us. We're live from Maine and Gervais. Time is now 6:51 on your Monday morning. It is cool, it is windy, and it is rainy. Unfortunately, none of those are really good things to see, but especially the rain and the winds. Now, rain continuing to come in from this coastal system. We did see a lull in the action overnight. We saw this main line, of moisture kind of move to our south slightly, but this low off the coast is going to push it back into our area and funnel more of this moisture from the north and east, kind of from the Wilmington, North Carolina area and North Myrtle Beach area into the Columbia area as we move into later today and especially even this morning. So look for heavy rain, especially this morning, potentially 1 to 2 more inches on top of everything that we've already seen. So the impact and unfortunately is likely going to continue for us as we move throughout your day today. Christy and Rochelle.
Thank you, Jonathan. Well, even record-setting floods can't stop love. A Kansas City couple who planned to wed in Charleston over the weekend almost didn't have their special day because of what else? The rain.
That's right. There is a silver lining to this flooding. It's nice to hear some good news. A TV news crew and some locals stepped in to help save this couple's wedding from being washed away. Victoria Hansen has their story.
Most downtown plans went down the drain, but not for this couple from Kansas City.
If anyone in the area can actually marry us, that would be greatly appreciated.
A public plea on live TV.
Hi, this is Brittany.
And then the call.
You getting married?
We're getting married.
A local councilman, a lifesaver for a couple whose minister, like so many, could not make it downtown.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
And
so
make the
much.
best of a bad situation, right?
Food, we're just putting together pieces of the puzzle as best we can. No hair and makeup, so we're just kind of doing our own for that. No photography.
Wait, photographer found on social media.
And I was like, wow, it's raining on their wedding day. Not only raining, but like flooding.
Congratulations, Uncle Jason and Aunt Brittany. Yay!
Of course, the bridesmaids are there. The groomsmen.
On the Isle of Palms couldn't get here, so worked it out, and they got so far, and a military Humvee picked them up and drove them 1.5 miles to get into the city.
Everyone's ready with a little help even the groom.
I'm not amazed at how Charleston's reached out. What I'm amazed at how it came together as quick as it did.
A quiet "Here Comes the Bride."
I ask now, who gives this beautiful woman to be married today? Her mother and I.
A tear.
Until we are parted by death.
And a nudge. Rain on a wedding day.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I be the first and proudest to present to you Mr. and Mrs. Jason Hodak.
That overflows with love.
Well, it's nice to have a little something to brighten everybody's spirits.
That, and good to see how even in that situation a community was willing to come together to help pull off their wedding.
Right, because Charleston experiencing, a flooding as well.
That's right.
Well, good morning, Columbia. We are, of course, committed to keeping you safe and in the know as South Carolina continues to grapple with this never-before-seen rain event. We're going to have much more coming up, but first we're going to take a look at our ABC Columbia Tower Cam. As you can see there, rain falling heavily on the streets and a few cars. Stay with us. We'll be right back live from Main and Gervais.
Rain continuing to fall for us this morning and at a heavy to steady rate across much of the Columbia metro area. So not the most ideal conditions for us. Many officials are still urging people to stay home, at least wait until it's more light outside. It is very dark. It's going to be very hard to see those treacherous areas. Some hope on the horizon, though. Rain pretty much throughout the day today. It's going to be cool. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be windy. But some drier air on the way. Lots of sunshine for the remainder of the 7-day forecast. Mid to upper 70s and some low 80s by the time we get to Thursday and Friday.
Well, after all that rain we saw yesterday, people don't want to hear that there is more rain, but at least Jonathan is on top of it, keeping you guys up to date. And we do want to, before we leave you, give you another look at that live tower cam so you can see what the conditions are at this hour.
Yeah, if you take a look outside, the rain is really coming down here, as Jonathan mentioned, and you do see a few cars outside traveling. And we do want to remind folks that the curfew that was in place for the city of Columbia, Richland, and Lexington County did end at 6 a.m., but officials are urging you not to stay on the roads.
That's right. Unless you have to be out there for, an emergency, they are asking people to stay at home to stay safe. As Jonathan just mentioned, those roads are still dark at this hour, and you cannot see exactly as much as you'd like to. But we'll keep you updated throughout the morning, and we'll have more for you at the news at noon 30.
Yeah, and on abccolumbia.com.